I'm Commander Shepard, and VGS is my favorite show on the Citadel.
This is Three Dog.
How can I help?
Ladies and gentlemen, it feels like we have been waiting at least 600 years, I would say a little bit longer, for a game that is coming out in the next 48 hours. It is a game that we have devoted too much time on, frankly, way too much time on this particular program, VGS, talking about Mass Effect Andromeda. It is the next iteration in the Mass Effect universe made by the storytellers themselves, the folks at BioWare, and myself, Anton Mack, who joins me, Thomas Hyde, and Liam Brand pressing the buttons. We'll be spending a majority of the next hour reviewing the game, talking about multiplayer, talking about what was right, what was wrong. If you have no interest in Mass Effect, if you want to leave right now, it's fine. You don't have to listen. But if you have even an inkling about what this big game is all about, maybe the biggest game of the year, I suggest you keep listening. This week, VGS. Come on, some excitement. There we go. Liam Brand, you did not clap to the level in which I wanted.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'll do better next time.
How are you doing?
Pretty good. You
Yeah?
know, I've been really wanting to get my hands on Andromeda, shedding a tear every time I see a video posted on VGS, thinking, that could be me. But it's not.
It could be you getting verbally harassed by thousands for making wrong choices in a video game.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about that for a second. For people that aren't aware, that aren't in that evil community that is YouTube. When you post something on YouTube that's slightly divisive or contrarian, suggests something positive about a woman, especially in video games, I have found that you will get hundreds, if not thousands, of comments that will make you question the goodness of humanity. If you follow us on VGS, Video Game Sophistry on YouTube, you probably know we've posted a lot of stuff about Mass Effect, a whole bunch. And it's kind of almost the first time that people have seen a lot of this Mass Effect content. So there is a lot of interest. But man, some of those responses, really, really horrific. How would you describe them, Anton? Because you were helping me make some of these videos.
They are just all over the place. Because I'm doing the female writer playthrough, right? And
he's playing as a female in the game, just in case people are confused.
the last name is Ryder.
Yes.
But the comments themselves, they're pretty horrific.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's kind of scary. And especially from someone who comes from that side of the gaming community.
Yeah.
Like, I'm kind of a little, taken back by what these people have said.
Yeah, we gotta take a moment. Let's reel it in. We're not jumping into Mass Effect just yet. Tom Jones, take it away.
What's new, pussycat? Whoa, whoa, whoa. What's new, pussycat? Whoa, 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 whoa.
It may be a Mass Effect special, but we still have to do our homework. Game's coming out for the next 7 days. That is, of course, today until the 19th. Excuse me, today's the 19th until the 26th. Starting with, Anton, what's the first game?
Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh, we're still talking about Mass Effect.
That's cheating.
Coming out next Tuesday on March 21st. If you don't know, action role-playing game. The Mass Effect Andromeda tells the story of humanity and their Andromeda Initiative, which is their effort to populate new homelands in the Andromeda Galaxy.
And that's all we're going to say about Mass Effect right now, because we've
Period.
so much that. Yeah, period right there. Next up, we have a game that I really loved on the PC last year, an indie title called This Is the Police. Again, a big YouTube hit. People really got behind it. It's a very strange action strategy where you play as this soon-to-be retired police chief in this corrupt town, and you have to decide how to make your money by 180 days when you retire. And it's very, very strange. It is very noir, comic booky, and I really liked it. A lot of other people did too. I don't know how it's going to translate to consoles, though, because it is very PC-oriented. But if you're looking for a strange indie title, if you're sick of the big-budget games, you want something new and different, I'm telling you, This Is the Police. That's all you need. What about you, Thomas, our final one?
March 21st. Everything is a PS4 exclusive. The name of the game is Everything. Not literally everything is exclusive to PS4.
Gotcha.
This game is like a kind of like a universe sim where you can play as anything from a single-celled organism to an entire galaxy. So
that's pretty cool.
If you could play as anything in existence, what would you play as?
Can you play, like, are there places in between, or is it just single cell to
I don't know.
galaxy?
This press release
Kinda
doesn't
like
tell me
a
that
Spore
info.
type deal.
Yeah, it sounds a little spory.
Yeah, it does sound very Spore. Yeah, but
God, I love Spore, man.
Check
That was
check that out on the 21st. Check out everything.
There you go. Man, I
The world
really
is
love
beautiful.
Spore. I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Really cool options. Really horrifying options, too.
Yeah. Anyways, we got to take a break. We're going to be back after this with a little bit of news of the week coming up after a quick break here on VGS. It's your video game hour with Andy Borkowski here. Talk Radio AM 640. Joined, of course, Anton Mack, Thomas Hyde, Liam Brand, pressing the buttons. It is our very special Mass Effect. Well, almost every week is our Mass Effect show, but we're reviewing it this week, so it's kind of a big deal.
This is for real the Mass Effect show.
You're right. We've been spending over 100 hours on it, so we're pretty excited to talk about it. Not going to say anything else besides that. This week, we also need to take a moment to talk about achievement in games. A lot of people play games to experience the narrative story, to be involved in the world, but there is almost in every game I've played a feeling of achievement that is very gamified. It's not just you're experiencing a story. There's points, there's checkpoints, there's something that is different from when you started to where you ended. And one game development firm took that to kind of the next level. You're going to hear about that coming up right now. The interns with their news of the week.
This week in gaming.
The numbers are in. Horizon Zero Dawn is now the best-selling new first-party IP to debut on the PlayStation 4. Through both digital and retail sales, Horizon Zero Dawn landed on the charts with over 2.6 million units sold.
That's insane.
Looks like all the effort developer Guerrilla put into the game is paying off. On that note,
If you put the time into completing all of Horizon Zero Dawn, not only do you get a platinum trophy well worth the effort, but you also get a hidden theme for your PlayStation 4 background. And this is no cheap feature, considering how much time you need to put into finishing the game. Completing all the side quests, length of the game itself, all for a theme. Bragging rights to the fullest.
We've known for a while that you can complete Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild as soon as you start the game, but we didn't think someone would actually try and do it. However, speedrunner Venic409 has beaten Breath of the Wild in 54 minutes and 5 seconds. So if this is going to persuade you to beat the current time, then have at it.
Great! I can't wait to bomb some Dodongos!
2017 might just be the comeback year for Sonic the Hedgehog, as Sonic Mania and the newly announced Sonic Forces come out this year.
Sonic's the name, speed's my game!
Previously titled Sonic Project 2017, Sonic Forces has now been officially announced for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. With the positive response Mania's gotten from the trailers alone, Sonic's 25th anniversary might just pay off in the long run.
An iconic theme in the video game world. It is, of course, our Mass Effect show. Our team's here to talk about it. Stellar news of the week by those interns. The one guy, Jesse's new, but he sounds all right.
I recommended him.
You did?
Yeah.
I didn't
did
trust
I,
that. That
actually.
made me think, like, absolutely not. Bottom of the pile.
Never trust your intern.
Exactly. But you guys are talking now, so must have done something right. They talked about a story that I think is kind of cool. It's kind of retro gaming. We played a lot of Horizon Zero Dawn. Really, really enjoyed it, Anton, and you guys didn't. But I think I pretty much beat that game 100%. Got the platinum. When I get home tonight, apparently, if I look in the hard drive of my PlayStation, there is a little present for me, an exclusive PS4 theme. For those not familiar, a PS4 theme is just essentially a background theme, a desktop, if you will, for your PlayStation 4, but it usually includes some kind of custom music when you enter new areas. It's a cool, nice little thing. And they're giving it to people that actually achieved getting a platinum. And again, for those that don't know, achieving little problems and trophies and little things that are required by the game to make it more challenging. And that got me thinking, what are some games that really encouraged you to beat it 100%? And when you did, gave you a prize that was more than just a little polygonal thing on a screen.
Ding. That's what they give you.
More than a ding. I thought it might have been something else. More than a ding, though, but something that was actually in your hands. We'll start with you, Anton, because I know you are a Poke Freak, and I think I know where this is going.
Pokemon Gold and Silver. So if you collected all, I think it was like 256 Pokemon, and then you showed them to some dude, he gives you a certificate.
In the game.
Yeah, in the game.
Not like on the street.
Hey, look what I did.
But you show him to the dude, he gives you a certificate in game, but if you get the like Game Boy printer attachment, attach it to the Game Boy, you can actually print out that little certificate. It's really, really small.
Is it still in your wallet?
No, I think I lost it long ago.
It's laminated.
Yeah, he lost it. Yeah,
it's laminated.
Jeez. All right, quickly. I know you had another one here, Thomas.
Yeah, I have
as well.
a couple, so I'll do them quick.
You'll
gun.
do one.
Then not gun. I'm
Not
gonna
gun.
do a GoldenEye 64.
Whoa, take us back with that
I know,
one.
right? When you beat the levels in like the average time, like below it, it'll unlock cheats.
See, that's a
Paintball
cool
mode.
little mechanic that games don't do anymore. You know, they don't include the idea of like, maybe we made these systems that work so well. If you beat this game in this way, we'll give you something to screw up those systems and have tons of fun.
Uncharted 4, all those
fair
things
enough.
you unlock
Fair
after
enough.
it, those are fantastic.
Speaking of being interrupted by Liam, is there anything else? What's yours?
Love Arkham Knight, one of my favorite games,
Okay.
and collecting all the Riddler trophies and 100%.
No, thank you.
That was
Nobody
the
wanted to do
worst.
it, but you got a cool alternate ending final scene once you did. And
See, that's why
pretty worth
YouTube
it to
exists,
me.
though. That's why YouTube exists.
Not as rewarding, not nearly as rewarding.
Agreed.
All right. Next up, speaking of rewarding, it's been in the making for a long time. My exclusive review of Mass Effect Andromeda coming out this Tuesday. We'll see if it is worth your time or if it's possibly the very first Mass Effect game that is not worth your attention. We'll be back after this. I have spent most of my professional career talking about video games in radio. It's not the most common place to discuss the newest and greatest tech. For a lot of people, it's seen as a simple plaything, a way that kids used to play with lights and buttons. In 2017, there is a bit of magic with video games. When the art direction, when the storytelling, when the animations, when all of the gameplay mechanics work together in confluence of ideas towards one greater experience, it's magic. Genius is not material, it's magic, and video games in 2017 have reached a form of storytelling that I don't think any other media has. 100 years from now, 500 years from now, as we look back on the great works of Shakespeare, I truly believe children born in that era will look back on games like BioShock and the forebears of that as a new age of storytelling. They will not be looking back at Mass Effect Andromeda.
We made it. Meridian is mine.
He has access!
No more mercy. Kill them all.
Mass Effect Andromeda is the latest iteration from BioWare and one of the most popular space operas ever created. Over 10 years ago, they reinvented the franchise. The whole concept of an RPG was thrown on its head when Commander Shepard went on his first mission. This go, you're playing as one of the Ryder twins in a whole new galaxy with whole new options, whole new baddies to fight, and different opportunities to build your own story. Mass Effect and games of this kind are well known for one thing. It is their saving grace. It is what sells the franchise, the characters. Whether it was shooting bottles on top of the Citadel with Garrus or having that private moment when she finally reveals who she really is, Mass Effect games cut through the pixels and polygon and say something that's true. True to the human condition, and I think true to our experience as people. We want to be together. We want to be strong. It tells stories in quite literal ways. Mass Effect Andromeda tries very hard to continue that legacy with complex relationships with characters like PB, the new wild child Asari, or the old Krogan Drax, nearly 2,000 years old, or the introduction of a new species, the Erangara, and the avatar of that species, Jal, who joins your crew. This new species incorporates their physiology with emotion, so they are a feeling, and you get to interact with Jal in that story arc, which is really compelling and interesting. But for all of that work, for all of the important writing behind it, this game never reaches the points that the previous titles did. And here is simply why. It is not a fully functional game where there is that confluence of ideas and work. The art, the animations, the gameplay design, they aren't working together for that one greater theme, that one greater push, that one greater story. As soon as you enter the Tempest, your ship in Mass Effect Andromeda, you'll feel it right away. The conversations with many of the NPCs and squad mates that you've loved in the previous games now are a little more hollow, a little more stilted, and ironically a little more alien. Whether it is writing that is so cliched and hackneyed, especially for the human characters, or animations that leave you feeling a sense of the uncanny valley dip with characters' eyes exploding from their heads or moving around unnecessarily. This is about creating a sense of immersion. And the technical glitches compiled with just a writing style that seems to mirror games before Mass Effect 1 leave you feeling a little bit empty. I've spent close to 100 hours with the title, and there are some beautiful diamonds in the rough here. There are moments that are special, but at its core, this is a game that really is at odds with itself. The BioWare gods giveth, and they taketh away. For every great scene you have with Jal, understanding his emotions and how his society works, there's another broken scene with Cora that they push down your face. For every moment that you have a movie night with your squad that seems to be earned and pushed together as a team trying to colonize, you have instances, again, where PB is unable to say things properly and winks at you cutely, or Gil pushes some, unfortunately, stereotypical homosexual barb towards you, which seems really stilted and not genuine. The truth that we felt in the first 3 games from your companions is just not there.
I think you're cute and I like seeing you up here. Oh my goodness, right? Or also, the accent. The accent is, I mean, it's not the only thing, but, okay, I should just go over there to the piloting thing.
Kill me now.
I hate to look at a game and dismantle it by its mechanics. This as an art form needs to be seen as a harmonious symphony. You don't look at a beautiful book and say the font didn't work right. I'm tired of looking at games like toaster ovens, but Mass Effect Andromeda, unfortunately, has so many technical problems and little glitches that it takes away from the idea of a centralized thesis. So right off the bat, as many of you know, the animations are in many ways character killers. This really affects the human characters a lot more than some of the other aliens, but there's a sense of disconnect, characters walking around when they shouldn't be. And for a game that prides itself on a level of immersion and that connectivity with fake pixels on a screen, those pixels need to seem as real and alive as they can. And again, this is a game of contradictions. So for every moment there's a bad animation, you'll walk into your Tempest and the ship in the game and see your companions interacting and being alive. For every moment that you start to enjoy walking around the Nexus and seeing how your choices have made a difference, there'll be a side quest that wasn't activated properly because you're speaking behind it. These are small problems that should have been addressed that really take away from the idea of finding a centralized truth. That's not to say that there isn't a lot here to enjoy. In your role as Pathfinder, you are tasked with going to new worlds and colonizing them. As you colonize and interact with the different environments, you make changes to these beautifully diverse planets, whether they're ice-oriented, sunny, storm-filled deserts, or the jungle worlds. You make changes and decisions that affect how this galaxy will develop. That's always what I love in video games, the idea that you're making a lasting effect. But even with that, like we said, the BioWare gods giveth and they taketh away. When you get to those worlds, there's not a lot to do. Little fetch quests here and fro, moments to pick up maybe a weapon that was found. It doesn't matter how pretty the packaging is if inside it's a broken piece of glass. There's a lot of moments like that where you build off of something and you enter a world that is of your making. The combat is one of these examples. They've made some real strides with the new Frostbite engine and the new dynamic of fluidity and movements. The profile system is really a revelation. You can treat each situation in whatever way you want, playing as one of the archetypal profiles that you found from the previous 3 games. Unfortunately, though, you don't have access to your weapons during that time. So here's an example. You start a mission and you want to be an infiltrator. You get your sniper rifle, which is part and parcel with that profile. You play as an infiltrator, and then you realize that this combat challenge might require some biotic powers. You can switch to a biotic-oriented profile, but you can't change your weapons. Now, this seems like a small gripe, but little problems like that. Like when you travel from planet to planet, they stick you in the first-person perspective up to 10 to 15 seconds to get there. When you do die, which could happen often, the autosave, I think maybe timed 15 minutes beforehand. You have to keep redoing the same mundane things that you've done before. That beauty, that truth, that sense of exploration just gets more and more frustrating with each passing hour. The beauty that this game really strives for isn't there. There's metagame aspects that are a whole lot of fun, trying to get these colonists onto this new world, but ultimately, BioWare had an opportunity here to tell a story that hasn't been told before. A story of Eurocentric colonization in new worlds. They never pushed that. This is a rehash of the Reaper story with new baddies, new goodies, but nothing that really challenges the morality of what it means to make a choice for 200,000 humans. Would you make the Angara species die for the sake of your survival? It's something that I wish they did. It's a history that we have here in Canada and the United States, and it's almost shameful that they didn't. Ultimately, there is a lot of fun to be had here. There are moments here that matter, but this game requires that confluence of idea to really shine. It needs a thesis. Great art needs to tell a story, and if subjectively you found something beautiful in this, I understand. But there is objectively some problems with this masterpiece that make me want to go back to the Milky Way galaxy, find my crew, and never go to Andromeda. I'm Andy Borkowski, and this is VGS. You heard what I had to say about the single-player experience of Mass Effect. There is another huge component that I know the folks at BioWare spent a lot of time working on. So we thought we'd be remiss if we didn't just take a little bit of time, separated it, and discuss what that experience was about. A multiplayer, horde mode-esque kind of gameplay where you and a friend come together and battle waves and waves of baddies in the world of Mass Effect Andromeda. Myself and Anton have spent a fair bit of time. You know, we went through a lot of different classes to experience what it offers, saw the level up system, and I guess let's just start generally, overall, what do you think of the experience? I
surprisingly enjoyed the multiplayer more than I did the single player.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
With you on that one. It is pretty comprehensive. It's just fundamentally, I don't really like games like Overwatch because I get destroyed. I don't really like games like Call of Duty for the same reason. I like the idea that you can compete with your friends and against them, but still be on the same team. I'm not going to get destroyed by someone who's a Turian sniper that can fly around and kill me in the corner of the map. I like the idea that you're just competing scores, essentially.
Yeah.
So how it's integrated into the main story is pretty cool. Very early on in Mass Effect, in the single player, you meet the military leader of the Nexus called Candaris or something like that, I think it is.
Yeah.
He's a cool ass Turian with a deep voice. And he tells you that he is using strike teams to kind of complete different objectives in this new galaxy, to take out new baddies. And within that system, you can have kind of a strike team placeholder that has a bunch of cool little faces, and you can send them on missions. Or if you want, you can opt to go on the mission yourself in multiplayer. And that's what pushes you into the multiplayer HUD. You get Andromeda points for that, which can affect and give you rewards in the single player, which I think is really, really cool. Or if you want to avoid all of that entirely, just go to the main menu of the game. Multiplayer is right there. You don't have to mess with strike teams. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And in terms of the actual game that you're playing, it's like I said, very similar to Mass Effect 3. Horde mode where you play as different select archetypes of characters. We don't have the profiles like you do in the single player game. There's one select character archetype. You level up those characters and you fight hordes and hordes. That's based on the complexity system of bronze, silver, and gold for how difficult they are.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of actually developing and moving up, how does this work?
So it's a little confusing. It's got kind of the whole like pay to get stuff formula, but as you play these missions, you get points that you could spend on boxes. These boxes will unlock a bunch of different things randomly, depending on how much points you end up spending. In order to level up characters, you actually will get cards of these characters' faces, and if you get similar cards to what you already own, they will combine to level up the character, which will raise its base stats and make the character technically stronger. As well with that, you can level up the character just by killing enemies, completing missions that will give you experience, which you can put toward your skills, so you can invest more.
Just like in the single player.
Just like the single player.
Just like in the single player.
And from those boxes, too, you'll gain weapons. And in order to get stronger versions of the weapons you currently own, just like the characters, you have to get the same matching card.
Yeah, there's no level up system for the weapons at this point.
It's really weird and very randomized.
For leveling up your characters, what kind of stuff does that affect? Like base strength, base speed? Like what are we talking here?
We're looking at health and base shield from what we've seen. We only really put in, like 3-4 hours? But at one point, I ended up level 6 with no like new character levels. Andy ended up with what was like 2 characters at level 2, 3.
Yeah, so I played a little bit longer, and when you first start, it's kind of cool. They will give you a bunch of extra packs if you own like Mass Effect 3 or Dragon Age Inquisition. And I was very fortunate to get what I think is one of the coolest characters in the game in the multiplayer, an Angaran insurgent character. So Angaras are the new species, these little fish frog dudes. And this guy sets up different traps and turrets, and he can kind of maneuver the map around. Anton was playing as an infiltrator, and we were able to almost beat, very, very close to beat a lot of these games, just you and I.
Yeah.
When it's supposed to be a team of 4.
Yeah.
So when you're playing these different classes, like, does it seem pretty balanced? Like, were your scores ending up about the same, or how is that working out?
Well, let's start off by saying Anton is a lot better at video games than I am. Like, just objectively, when he points at things, they die quicker.
Stop this.
So he was at some points ahead of me, but I like the idea because it seems like each of these characters will bring something different to the team, but you don't necessarily need one.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need a tank. There's none of that sort of archetyping in here. You can go on with 4 biotic players if you want, even up to the harder difficulties. But there is a lot of maneuverability. Like I said, I was able to play this insurgent character. I used all the different skills. And I felt as if there was a lot of room to grow, but I don't know how much fun this would be 4 or 5 months from now. Yeah. I think it's a really good multiplayer experience for 2 or 3 months, which honestly is not so bad for a multiplayer game. It's not going to have the longevity of Overwatch. It's not really meant to. But overall, I do think it is a really solid way to play with the new fighting mechanics that was developed by the BioWare team. Anything else where we go?
Yeah, I totally agree with every point. It's a multiplayer system that will only last 2 to 3 months by staying interesting, but it's tacked onto a grand single-player game. Yeah. It's a fun experience. Try it out.
There you go. We'll be back right after this VGS. So there you have it, folks. Mass Effect Andromeda in the bag. Yeah, this is our opinion. Let's put it out there. We had a chance here on VGS to play. I did our review. Talked about the single player, the multiplayer. I did. If you're watching us online, I did the basketball swoosh. Did it look legitimate? I know, Anton, you played some pretty high level basketball.
It looked like you just threw a cat across the room.
For a moment, I was like, I'm in a room with LeBron James.
See, LeBron James.
What happened to Andy?
What did happen to Andy? Tim Curry. Is that a basketball player?
Probably not. You're thinking of Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Tim
Curry
Curry's
is a great actor, though.
Yeah.
As you obviously know, this is our segment on Mass Effect, and I wanted to have Thomas Hyde, Liam Brand here to kind of represent the everyman. And I think you both look different, you both act different. 2 white men, so that's pretty much everyone that could be. You're representing both sides. I'm kidding. What do you guys think about our coverage so far of Mass Effect? Feel free to say anything that could be negative. We'll start with you, Liam. You know, you will not be penalized at all. What do you think about Mass Effect Andromeda and our opinions on it?
Oh, and your opinions on it?
Yeah.
I mean, from what I've seen so far, it looks supremely okay. Like a real middle-of-the-line kind of game, which is a real letdown for me. And based off what you guys have been saying, it seems even worse than that.
Maybe it is tough because maybe we should talk about that a lot too. When reviewers are in the thick of it and they have to make more content than just one review, you're really pushing the game to its limits. We don't get to play this casually. We don't get, some light time with it. Oh, let's travel around the planets. We're, high octane getting it done. So when the negativity is there, I think it is highlighted maybe a little bit more. Anton, do you kind of follow that? Do you see that?
Not exactly, because look what happened with Horizon Zero Dawn. We powered through that and we both enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was incredible. If you have to compare the two, which I think you kind of do because this came a few weeks ago, in every single way, Horizon Zero Dawn is better. There's nothing that Mass Effect does better that Horizon Zero Dawn does not dominate.
Dang
indeed. Tomas, I know you're a big Mass Effect fan. This is also a chance to answer any unanswered questions about the game.
Yeah, the one thing I was really wondering about, how are the squad mates? Like, were they all compelling to you, or did some of them fall flat?
I think, and this isn't a spoiler because you get it very early on, the new race of squad mate, the Angaran Jal that you have, is by far the most compelling, and it has a lot to do with the fact that his face looks far and away different from what human faces look like. So his animations aren't screwed up, so it's not ruined, and he seems to be written very alien and strange. There are species, I mentioned this in my review, that live in emotions. So they say things like, do not be that of angry, be that of happy or sad, and they are an emotional. I guarantee there's a piece of paper somewhere in BioWare Studios in Edmonton that says the emotional species with like quotations on it, because that's their prime directive, and they're really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I was a big proponent of the old Krogan. Like, his name is Drax, and he will be someone that you like a lot, but I don't really remember a lot of the female and male human companions. They didn't really resonate with me. They kept trying to. The game kept trying to make you like love Cora. She always has something to say, but man, it wasn't written that well. Didn't look that good.
Seems like the Mass Effect games have a pretty bad history of just writing human characters.
Yeah.
I can't, and I was saying this earlier, I can't think of one human character from that series that I've really, that's really resonated with me or that I've really wanted to hear more from.
Unfortunately, in this game, I think it's an extension of that not only are a lot of the human characters not well written, but just generally, I don't know what it is, like too many cooks in the kitchen or something. It doesn't feel of the same quality that we've seen before.
It feels like they were shooting for the stars with a water gun.
They gave it their all. I do have a couple more questions.
Please do. You are our man of the community, so you got to get this done.
With these with the new races from Helios or Andromeda, do they ever get into whether the translators work right away? Like, is there ever communication difficulties,
well,
is it just?
I thought that would be compelling, but it's such a chintzy thing. Just at one point, the character Vitra is like, "Oh," to the new species. "Oh, I guess your translator's working great."
No.
Or just and Ryder saying, "Oh, the translators are working wonderful." I guess they just put that line in there.
Yeah, they touch on it, but not in the way you would have liked.
I don't know. I feel like that would be more really interesting.
Sucks. That could have been really cool.
Yeah.
Even if it were like a quest or something, I don't know, but
it was one thing that you said, I think during multiplayer when we were playing the other night. You'll probably see it on the YouTube channel, but you said a lot of it just feels kind of shipped in. It was just like that's just how things are.
Yeah.
And it's kind of disappointing, especially from something with such grand lore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a shame because, like I said, so many of these things are the highest of quality, but they conceptually are great ideas, great concepts to live by, great gameplay mechanics, but they're just not fine-tuned. I'm wondering if we had another 6 months, if this game would be fine-tuned a little more. But honestly, I don't even know if that would help the situation. I don't know if that would solve the problem. I've been trying to think about it, but it hurts me that Mass Effect is a chore, and it shouldn't be.
Does the game feel like they hit a point where they had like a really great game and then they just kept going? Is that what it feels like?
No. I think it's just, there are certain things that subjectively are not of my taste, and that's what every reviewer has, and that's what you have to acknowledge. But there are some things that I think all of the players can objectively say that certain things don't work and certain points are not reached. The facial animations are just a disaster in every sort of way. Thomas, the final thought from the audience.
Based on your time with Andromeda, do you want Andromeda 2? Personally?
Of course, because it's Mass Effect.
Okay, cool.
But I'm not, like, it's not going to be, I think, the same level. You know, I don't think it's quite going to be up to the level that we anticipated. And to celebrate the release of this game, we have a feature that has gone forgotten for the longest time. Bonus round with the interns. Believe it or not, next time you hear our voices, it will be after the release of Mass Effect Andromeda. We've spent so much of our time on this show talking about it, analyzing it, talking to the people that made it. Unfortunately, it was not the golden goose that we thought it was. It was not the prophecy did not foretold about this game.
Did not foretold.
Yeah. Did not foretold.
Great English, Andy.
Great English, IB. A huge thank you to everyone who took part in the show. Thomas Hyde, Anton Mack, Liam Brands. Big thanks. Make sure you check us out on YouTube, Video Game Sophistry. You can see the entire program. Jesse, the man himself, records it. We gotta get Jesse on because he's a lunatic.
Oh, he's hilarious.
Like,
Absolute madman.
Yeah. He's got some...
I've never laughed as hard as I have.
Yeah,
when I
he's much better.
when I listen to Jesse.
He's much better at this. All right. Goodbye forever. This is VGS.